all things considered, when you really kind of break it down, the reality of it is, as aggravating as this season has seemed for much of the season, they're a first-place baseball team, and they're only 2 games behind the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. Like, it's wild to think that that's the case, because there are so many things that we identify as wrong with the Phillies, and yet there they are. So it tells you that there's still a lot of top-end talent here getting enough of the job done to have them in the position that they're in. But yes, we all want more. Everybody wants to see more. And I think that that's kind of where we're at with them right now.
Well, it's funny. It would be, I think it's fair to say this is a good team. So when people say they stink, they have no shot, this team blows, it's not worth investing in it, that's an overreaction.
Yeah.
You sound ill-informed when you say those things. That being said, to say that this offense is infuriating, that it's not good enough, that they can't win if they don't upgrade the offense, if they can't win if they don't upgrade this bullpen. Like, I do think that those things are fair. So while you get to the All-Star break in first place, and I think that we shouldn't take that for granted, I do think you're living in reality if you acknowledge that it's got to be better than this. They have to do more. They have to get here They have to get here. And when I say that, they have to get to a place where I'm using my hands. They need more in the bullpen. They need more in this lineup. They have to have more.
Yeah. As Kyle says, not great, Bob.
Not great.
Not great.
The game Saturday night kind of was one where, like, I don't know if a fan, like, as you guys listening as fans get to a place where, like, you know what? I'm invested. I'll check the game day app. I'll see how the game's going. But I just can't do 2.5 hours all in on this team today. That's sort of how I felt after the game Saturday night. I was like, all right, like, I know that they're about to have 5 days off or whatever it is, 4 days off. So I guess I'll keep an eye on this. But after Saturday night, I was like, man, I need a reset here.
Well, here's an interesting thing that video guy Amadeo, who does all of our clips, just posted in the chat. And I want to bring it up because I think it's 2 back-to-back comments, but I think it's their prescient. First one, he says, their approach change made an already flawed offense even more flawed. And then he says, at least when they were hitting homers constantly, it was fun.
Well, I mean, look.
I think he's right? I mean, I think he's kind of spot on with that.
For them to score runs right now, it feels like it takes 2, 3, 4 hits. It's like a pass the baton type of offense. They just can't overcome mistakes. They can't overcome guys going through cold spells because they need 2, 3, 4 guys in an inning to piece it together in order to generate offense.
Yeah.
Look, Bryce Harper directionally going, I think, in the right way. It's looked a lot better here on the West Coast, certainly starting with Wednesday's game and 4 extra base hits. I thought that he showed some good things over the weekend. Kyle Schwarber, he's going to hit 53 home runs. Like, that's awesome. You feel good about that. But up and down this lineup elsewhere, there's just not enough. The Bryson Stott situation is untenable at second base. The Max Kepler situation in terms of him just even being on this roster, I think, is borderline untenable. And then I know that they go to Kemp and they have to go to Sosa for Bohm early in the game when Bohm gets pulled over the weekend, leaving Marsh on a lefty on Saturday night in the 8th inning in a key spot. But again, like, Johan Rojas isn't an option for you off the bench there. And so that whole weakness is exposed. It's the same talking points over and over and over, but as we creep up on the trade deadline, they're just being highlighted over and over and over again. And it just leads you to a place of, will they or won't they? And you and I have talked on this show, and you said it again yesterday in a text message to myself and Tim Kelly. You don't think that they're going to improve this lineup. And my response to that was, well, that makes it easy for everybody, because if they don't improve this lineup, it doesn't matter. They're not going to win.
When I say I don't think they're going to improve the lineup. I honestly don't think that they're going to make a major move for a bat. I think you might see some along the margins kind of stuff, right? Like maybe a better right-handed option for center field, or maybe a better, left-handed option for left field. But I still think that you're looking at 2 platoons out there in some capacity. Unless you're taking a flyer on Luis Robert. Like, we've talked about that a bazillion times, right? I mean, guy's been terrible for a long time. Unless you're taking that flyer and you say, all right, cross your fingers and hope that he figures it out on a team where it matters, as opposed to, on a team that gets 30 people to show up at their games and people get shot in the outfield in the stands like they did last year. Like those things, like that's the thing. Like, maybe that's the only thing I say, okay, if you count that as a major change, or maybe that is a major change. But I don't think that the players are there. And I know, people talk about, Tim Kelly wrote about Stephen Kwan. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't see Cleveland doing that. Kyle Seiler mentioned earlier Byron Buxton in this comment, and Griffin Jacks, empty the minors, take a flyer on Luis Robert, if anything's left over, get Dennis Santana, whatever. Like, I don't think that Buxton's going to be available, right? I just don't see it. I don't see this. Here's another one. Steve T, kick the tires on Trout. It's just not going to happen, guys. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you is I don't feel like, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And I'll be the first I'll raise my hand and say, holy cow, they surprised the hell out of me. But I don't see it happening. And so that's why I keep saying it on the show and said it to you guys in the text message. They're going to double down on pitching. They're going to double down. They're going to go out and get bigger names for the bullpen and rely on the very good starting pitching that they have, and then have a few hammers at the back end and say, we'll go at it with an inconsistent offense, and we're going to bet that our pitching is better than yours. That's going to be their attempt to win a world championship. There's just not that bat that's going to be out there, or at least none that we think of yet. Who knows between now and the next 2 weeks if teams decide we're going to sell, and then all of a sudden a bat that you don't expect becomes available. Well, that maybe changes things, right? Maybe that changes it. But right now, that bat's not visibly out there.
You can describe it however you want. It takes two to tango. You have to have the availability in order to even contemplate and consummate a deal. But I go back to the start of June 1, where, look, the Phillies starting rotation has been phenomenal all year, but it's been exceptionally good over the last month and a half. And they are 19-19 since the start of June. And you look at their starting rotation, it is pitched to a 2.55 ERA in over 215 innings. It's the best ERA by 0.7 of a run over Milwaukee in that time frame. Wins above replacement, Fangraphs 5.7. Next highest is the Brewers, 3.5. I mean, they are so head and shoulders better. And it's been like this all year, but just the reason why I use June 1 is because it's been so up and down. It's win 2 out of 3, lose 2 out of 3, win 3 out of 4, lose 3 out of 4. They cannot seem to get away from this magnetic pull back to mediocrity.
And you're not wrong. And that's my tagline. You're not wrong. But the one thing I will say to their defense, just to play slight devil's advocate, in those 38 games, 28 of them have been against teams with winning records. So only 10 games have been against bad teams. So you're 19-19 in those 38 games, and 28 of the 38 games are coming against good teams. 19-19 isn't the worst thing. Like, it could be a lot worse, right?
No, it's not. But when you go back to last Sunday and you see them fail to score 5 or more runs 6 times, you go, all right. I mean, 6 out of the 7 games, they can't get the 5 runs. And in most of them, they could hardly get the 3, right? Like, yes, they popped on Wednesday with the 13 spot. And so everything looks pretty and it doesn't look nearly as bad as it is. But I don't know, man. You just go back to this weekend. And if you're a Phillies hater, if you're just a total non-believer, and you're like, this is actually a waste of my time, I hate this team, then this weekend was for you. Because you got the starting pitching on Friday night. You had a situation late in the game between Kepler and Castellanos. Neither guy can get it done. Castellanos runs a deep count, but then he swings at a pitch off the plate, hits it back to the mound, can't get it done. Kepler gives you a non-competitive at bat, right? Saturday night, you have opportunities. Zach Wheeler wasn't awesome, but he wasn't a disaster. 4 earned runs, I guess it was in 6 innings. Yeah. They had 2 different leads in the game. They had opportunities late. Top of the lineup in the 9th inning does nothing for you in a big spot in the 9th. Yesterday, more of the same. It was dreadful. I mean, the Padres gave the Phillies 5 outs in the first inning yesterday, and they struggled to score a run. It just, I don't know, man. I just look at it, and it's tough. I mean, I think, it depends what day of the week it is. If you talk to me, sometimes I'm like, look, the Phillies are a good team. Like I've said from Jump Street, I think it's a 93-win team. I think that they are really good. I think we almost do take this team for granted. I don't want to say we're spoiled, but I think we take this for granted. There haven't been many seasons as good as this one, and probably won't be. But this team is tough to watch.
They're frustrating.
Kind
They're
of
certainly
sucks
frustrating.
sometimes.
But and here's another thing. Like, you're a big run differential guy, right?
Yeah, I am. Yes. They outscored their opponents on this trip. I know.
Sixth best in baseball.
Yeah.
Plus 63. I mean, again, I'm not trying to defend this, because I sit there and watch them struggle offensively too. And I say to myself, this is ridiculous. Like, if they had even somewhat consistent offense, average 4 runs a game, 4.5 runs a game, you're gonna win this whole thing, because this league is not good this year.
Right, and you look at what the Dodgers are going through right now. Haven't been playing good baseball, not scoring. Offense has struggled. Mookie Betts hasn't had a good year. Muncy's obviously out. Yeah. You assume that they'll be better when he comes back. But again, you get to this deadline here, and are the Dodgers going to be that player? Like, what I really don't want to see, and where I will kill the Phillies, if we get to a spot where the trade deadline comes up and the Dodgers say, hey, you know what? There is a guy, and he is available, and they're able to make the deal because they're more aggressive or they're more creative. And then the Phillies are sitting there kind of tweaking on the edges. And then we get to August 1, we say, now look at these rosters. Now the Dodgers are starting to run away. Now name your team in this field, this tight race that is taking a step past the Phillies on paper. That will aggravate me.
Well, that's where I think everybody's got to hold on to their emotion about the Phillies right now. Because the difference to me between where the Phillies were at this time last year and where they are right now is that last year, and ultimately they fell apart against the Mets in the playoffs. We all know that. But last year at this time, you still looked at it and said, teams are chasing the Phillies. So teams at the deadline are trying to improve to chase the Phillies down, because the Phillies had the best record in baseball. They had an 8-game lead in the National League East, whatever. Now that's not the case. Now the Phillies are in a dogfight. And yeah, they're in first place. But if we're going to be real about it, they're only 3 games ahead of the Giants, who would be out of the playoffs at this point, right? So like it's a much closer race. And so with that being said, teams can pass you at the deadline by making the right moves. Whereas last year, you're not making up the difference of 8 games or 8.5 games with 1 or 2 deadline moves. Like, those things aren't happening. So you could be more comfortable trying to work around the margins like the Phillies did last year. In the spot that they're in now, you can't do that. So you actually have to win the deadline, or at least be one of the winners of the deadline this time around. You can't let other teams beat you to good players. And if that happens, then yes, then I think everybody's got the right to sit there and yell and scream and kick and complain if the Phillies lose out to, say, the Mets or the Cubs or the Dodgers for those players. This year, that makes a difference. Whereas last year, I didn't think it was that big of a difference.